But this is all just a distraction, like it always is. It's always a distraction from the real issue, which is power, which has always been power, which is the fact that this system is rigged, and it's rigged against regular people and for the elite.
The veil has been shattered. We're seeing two things right now. Two things. The first, they don't like that GameStop has actually, the GameStop retail investors are actually hurting the hedge funds. Melvin Capital down 53%. They don't like it. So what we're seeing now is, I believe this is more likely to be some kind of standalone complex where all these people in media have connections. They get fake stories seeded, and then dumb journalists with malicious journalists who are trying to make a pretty penny pump out this story to divert everyone's attention away from GameStop. A lot of the people who are investing are probably just someone who saw the news. There's now 8 million users on r/WallStreetBets. 8 million.
You can see just the graph shoot up in the number of people who are interested in this thing and who want to take part in pushing back against what they view, I think, rightly, as a kind of ignorant, detached, and self-interested elite class.
President Biden to address the GameStop controversy when he meets with his economic team a little bit later this morning?
No. That's not the focus.
Okay.
I know it's a big story, but it doesn't, obviously.
What we're talking about really is just the sort of abstract and almost indefinable or unquantifiable concept of power and influence. The little guys feel that they don't have the influence they deserve, and that's probably true. And the big guys feel that the influence that they have accrued is being attacked and being taken from them, which is also true.
We can see right through it now. It's almost like, the Wizard of Oz, and they pulled the curtain back and we can see the man behind the curtain. And he's still going.
Just close my eyes and they won't see me.
Right.
But there is going to be an investigation. There's no way somebody's not getting popped. Whether it's the Citadel Robinhood collusion, or whether it's the insider that was the wolf in sheep's clothing on Reddit, something's going to come out. This story is just...
Well, I mean, the thing is that, do these guys ever pay the price?
Who?
These guys who manipulate markets, like
No,
Tim, right? I mean, like Goldman Sachs, and when they got everybody to invest in these portfolios that crash and burn, what Goldman Sachs guy went to jail for that? I mean...
They became the Treasury Secretary. Now we got Janet Yellen, formerly at the Federal Reserve, now at the Treasury. When the Federal Reserve supposedly started to basically, create a firewall between the two.
Is the White House concerned about the stock market activity we're seeing around GameStop? And have there been any conversations with the SEC about how to proceed?
Well, I'm also happy to repeat that we have the first female Treasury Secretary.
Citadel paid Yellen over $800,000 in just the last couple of years, in fact. So it would appear that there might be a conflict of interest here.
There have been some kind of concerns about her previous engagements with Citadel and speaking fees that she has received from Citadel. Are there any plans to have her recuse herself from advising the president on GameStop and the whole Robinhood situation?
Well, just to be clear, what I said was that we have the Treasury Secretary is now confirmed. Obviously, we have a broad economic team separate from the GameStop issue. The Secretary of Treasury is one of the world-renowned experts on markets, on the economy. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone she was paid to give her perspective and advice before she came into office.
Okay, but
my God.
That's not the question. The question is not, hey, should she give speeches? The question is not, hey, should she get paid for speeches? The question is, to the extent that she was paid handsomely for speeches by this company, isn't there kind of a problem there? If she's the one who's supposed to be overseeing and regulating companies like this, isn't that a little bit of an issue? But I don't care if she receives money for a speech necessarily. I care that she's now being asked to oversee those people who pay her.
There's so much nepotism. All these people are part of the same group.
I am not a financial services professional. I am a MacBook repair person trying to make sense of a crazy world. Someone needs to be in trouble for everything that happened over this past week, whether it's lying to news outlets, lying about the amount of money that is available in a brokerage firm, lying about your short interest, if you are lying about your short interest, shorting a stock to the point where you can literally destabilize the entire financial system as we know it.
But right now I'm hearing lots of people who should know better fret about how these red-hot theme stocks, I think GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, Virgin Galactic, wow, represent some kind of new risk to the market. The action in the stocks has to some degree come unglued from the fundamentals, but that happens a lot.
There's a viral post now on Reddit where they're saying they believe that what's really going on is that these big funds have been counterfeiting stocks, essentially. And if they can't buy stocks to cover their game, their manipulation, then it all falls apart. And the SEC will be forced to intervene. And as they said on Reddit, it'll be bigger than Enron.
Well, I understand. Interesting, isn't it? I understand that the administration is taking a look. The SEC is taking a look at what that is. But we'll all be reviewing it. But interesting. It's interesting.
But what's really incredible is watching the reaction of the entire cathedral, the ruling class, the corporate press, the financial sector, all of them are freaking the fuck out. Way more than they did over 2020 when you had this much bigger transfer of wealth, because that transfer of wealth was from the poor and the middle class to the top of the upper class. Now, that doesn't freak them out because that's just the way the system's supposed to work.
How did we get to a bunch of Redditors squeezing hedge funds to the point where there's this idea that, hedge funds might have to get bailed out?
I think that what you're seeing is essentially a pushback against the establishment in a really important way. You have a lot of people, and I would encourage anybody who is dismissive of this thing to go into WallStreetBets and actually just read the forums. And I think that you're going to see three kinds of posts. The first kind of content are a lot of people doing some incredible fundamental diligence on companies, trying to think about long-term value. And in my opinion, many of them are doing as good and frankly a better job than a lot of hedge fund analysts that I work with.
Deep Value put out some DD, as we call due diligence in the industry.
They do have a due diligence section that is very separated from the part where people post things in a humorous fashion. And there is sometimes some fairly good stuff there.
The second are a lot of people who believe that, coming out of 2008, what happened was Wall Street took an enormous amount of risk and they left retail as the bag holder.
I think that there are a lot of people that are aggravated at people who make these risky trades, who do things they're not supposed to, not being held accountable. And this is an important moment because we're going to find out who is held accountable and who is to blame.
People are making billions of dollars off speculating in these really kind of crazy ways.
This is what they blamed 2008 for.
It shows that you aren't really accountable, and it shows that you aren't really interested in a good faith society. And that's the basis of civil society into which we all enter and agree on a certain set of rules, so we won't have designs on our neighbors and our neighbors won't have designs on us, and we'll be able to operate freely and consensually through voluntary interactions and in transactions governed by fair laws, and we can all just get on with our lives. And that sounds really appealing, doesn't it?
There's a lot of aggravation over what happened in 2007 and 2008. There's a lot of underlying resentment for these things that have not necessarily been addressed. And what they're doing is this is a way to beat them at their own game, using their own greed against them.
And a lot of these kids were in grade school and high school when that happened. They lost their homes, their parents lost their jobs, and they've always wondered, why did those folks get bailed out for taking enormous amounts of risk and nobody helped and showed up to help my family?